They say cheap end up being expensive, but there are 17 footballers that have proven that expensive can end up being even more costly. Coming up next, here's the club of players who were signed for over 100 million euros. The most expensive footballer in the 2024 transfer market was Julián Álvarez, who cost 75 million euros. This year, Florian Wirtz cost Liverpool nearly double that, 125 million. The German midfielder became the 17th player to break the 100 million euros barrier, one that Gareth Bale originally shattered in 2013. Whether he'll succeed or flop is still a mystery, but as we're about to see, Wirtz won't need to do much to claim this ranking, which goes from worst to best. If Real Madrid had signed Eden Hazard 12 months later, in 2020, Chelsea wouldn't have received a single euro. But Madrid couldn't wait. They wanted him immediately in 2019. So, they paid 121 million euros for the Belgian, an outrageous amount for a player who only had 1 year left on his contract. But hey, who cares? Money comes and goes. Hazard's number at Chelsea were a solid guarantee. 7 seasons, 110 goals, and 88 assists. In contrast, he tortured Madrid fans for 4 seasons, contributing a total of just 7 goals and 12 assists. Philippe Coutinho joined Barcelona in the winter transfer window of 2018 for 135 million euros. The Brazilian played 106 matches, meaning he cost more than 1 million per appearance. He scored 25 goals, so each goal cost over 5 million euros, and he delivered 14 assists, which puts each one at nearly 10 million euros. Worse still, the only 2 memorable goals Coutinho scored while under contract with Barca were actually against Barca, during his loan spell at Bayern Munich, where his biggest contribution was coming off the bench in that infamous Champions League massacre. In the end, Coutinho was sold to Aston Villa for just 20 million euros, a 115 million euros loss. On January 6, 2019, Joao Felix scored a brace against Rio Ave and earned an starting spot at Benfica. Over the next 5 months, he played 30 matches across all competitions, scoring 17 goals and delivering 10 assists. He won the Golden Boy Award as the best young player in Europe, ahead of Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland. Paying 127 million euros for such a young player with so few professional games but so much potential seemed like a smart move by Atletico Madrid in their quest to win their first ever Champions League. In his debut season in La Liga, however, Felix only started 21 matches. In year 2, instead of taking the next step, he started just 14 games. In his 3rd year, even fewer. By his 4th season, things had become untenable. Even he eventually left for Chelsea, in 3.5 seasons at Atletico, Felix scored 34 goals and delivered 18 assists. Chelsea inexplicably paid 52 million euros for him, and that's still a lot, but 75 million euros less than what Atletico had invested on him. Back in 2011, Chelsea signed an 18-year-old Romelu Lukaku for 15 million euros. He later moved on to West Bromwich, then to Everton, then to Manchester United, and eventually succeeded in grand style at Inter Milan. Then, Only 2 months after winning the Champions League and 10 years after first buying him, Chelsea re-signed Lukaku, but this time for 113 million euros, and he didn't justify a single cent. In his grand return to Stamford Bridge, Romelu played 44 matches, scored 15 goals, and had just 2 assists. After 1 season, he was gone for good. First loaned back to Inter, then to Roma, and finally sold to Napoli for just 30 million euros, a discount of 83 million euros from his original price. Antoine Griezmann took longer to join Barcelona in 2019 than he did to return. Tail between his legs as a dog, he returned to Atletico Madrid 2 years later. Barca paid 120 million euros for the Frenchman, plus 15 million more just to keep Atletico from throwing a fit. In return, they got 102 matches, 35 goals, 17 assists, and 1 Copa del Rey. Atletico only paid 22 million euros to get him back, meaning Barca lost 113 million euros on the disastrous Griezmann deal. One day, Barcelona lost Neymar. The next, they had 222 million euros sitting in the bank. The problem was, everyone knew they were desperate for a new star and had a lot of cash to burn. Borussia Dortmund took full advantage, refusing to let Ousmane Dembélé go until they had a 135 million euros offer on the table. Not bad for a player who, at the time, was valued at just 33 million euros. The Dembélé hype lasted exactly 2 matches before he suffered his first injury. He missed half the season and got injured again upon return. And that basically sums up 6 long years in which Dembélé scored 40 goals and delivered 41 assists. He played 185 matches for Barcelona and missed 145, mostly due to injuries or because he overslept and missed flights. In 2023, PSG bought him for 15 million euros, meaning his market value dropped 85 million euros during his Barca tenure. Paul Pogba was the most expensive player in football history, until Paris Saint-Germain lost their minds over Neymar. In 2016, Pogba became just the second footballer ever to break the 100 million euros mark. Manchester United paid 105 million to bring their academy product back home, 4 years after he had left for Italy. But Pogba never made the impact they hoped for. 6 seasons, 233 matches played, 111 missed, a total of 39 goals and 51 assists, 1 Carabao Cup, 1 Europa League, and that's it. Stop counting. United were a complete disaster before Pogba, remained as a complete disaster during his 6 years there, and of course, they're still a complete disaster now that he's gone. Oh, and by the way, Pogba left on a free transfer after his 6-year mega contract ended, so every cent of those 105 million euros turned into a net loss for Manchester United. Hey there! You might know Barak in Spanish. Our channel has over 400,000 subscribers. Well, this is the official English version. Same content, same passion. Now in your language. But we need your help to grow. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this new journey. Now, let's get back to the video. Neymar isn't just one of the 17 players who broke the 100 million barrier. He's also the only one who broke the 200 million euros mark. The 222 million PSG paid for the Brazilian in 2017 still feels absurd in today's market. Even 8 years later, Neymar had 2 goals when he arrived in Paris, to win the first Champions League in PSG's history and to step out of Lionel Messi's shadow so he could finally win the Ballon d'Or, a prize he was never going to get at Barcelona. He fell short on both. During the pandemic, he came within 90 minutes of the Champions League, but that was it. In total, Neymar played 6 seasons for PSG. He scored 118 goals and delivered 79 assists. But here's what really paints the picture of his failure. He played 173 matches, but missed 145 due to injuries, parties, etc. And not only did he never win the Ballon d'Or, he never even cracked the top 10. His best finish as a PSG player was in 2018, when after his first season in France, he ranked 12th in the voting. Enzo Fernández arrived at Chelsea just a couple of months after winning the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, where he was named the tournament's best young player. Just 6 months earlier, River Plate had sold him to Benfica for 44 million euros. Then, after only 29 matches in Portugal, Chelsea paid 121 million euros for him, making Enzo the most expensive signing in Premier League history, a record recently broken by Liverpool with the addition of Florian Wirtz. Due to his youth, Enzo Fernández immediately became Chelsea's captain whenever Reece James is injured, which is almost all the time. Enzo's history is still unfolding, with some high points and several low ones. In 3 seasons, he's racked up 115 matches, 16 goals and 23 assists. A final verdict will be premature, but if the question is, has he justified every cent of his transfer fee? Then the answer is no, not yet. This stat will surprise you, so pay close attention. These are the 22 most expensive players in football history, and only one of them, number 10 on the list, was signed by Manchester City. His name, Jack Grealish. His price, 117 million euros. The year, 2021. His first season was a disappointment. 6 goals and 4 assists in all competition. His second was his best, with 5 goals, 11 assists, and 1 legendary night of drinking. In his third year, he disappointed again. Just 3 goals and 3 assists, and in his fourth and final season, he barely left the bench. Grealish did win the Champions League in 2023, which sort of justifies City's investment, but he's yet another example of how most of the 100 million club signings have flopped. Here's the list of the 15 players with the most ball recoveries in the Premier League last season. 14 of them are goalkeepers. The other one, Moises Caicedo, with 225 ball recoveries. That stat alone highlights the Ecuadorian midfielder's quality. But it's still too early to say that Caicedo has lived up to the 116 million euros Chelsea paid for him in 2023, especially considering how many silly mistakes he made during his first of 2 seasons at the club. And yes, Caicedo's price tag is Declan Rice's fault. In 2021, Chelsea offered 50 million euros for Rice. In 2022, Manchester City raised the bid to 90 million, but West Ham still refused to sell him. Finally, in 2023, Arsenal paid 116 million euros and got him. Brighton, believing Caicedo was just as good as Rice, slapped the same price tag on him. Now, Rice will need to start winning some trophies with the Gunners to justify that amount. But to be fair, he's one of the very few 100 million euros players who can proudly claim top-tier performances. Another story in progress is that of Jude Bellingham. Like Caicedo and Rice, 2 seasons aren't enough to say whether Real Madrid's 113 million investment in 2023 was truly worth it. But what we can say for sure is that Borussia Dortmund didn't scam Madrid, because Bellingham proved his worth from day one. In fact, during his first 6 months as a Madridista, he looked like a 500 million player. Eventually, he came back down to earth. Still, he won the Champions League in his debut season, finishing with a staggering 23 goals and 13 assists. His second year was more frustrating, and yet, Bellingham still delivered elite performances, ending the campaign with 15 goals and 15 assists. In 2016, Manchester City signed Claudio Bravo for 18 million. Never before had a player over 32 commanded that kind of fee. Then, just a couple of seasons later, Juventus paid 117 million euros for a 33-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. Juve had already won 7 straight Scudetti. With Cristiano, they added 2 more. But the main goal was the Champions League, and that didn't even come close. Ronaldo played 3 seasons in Italy and scored 101 goals in 134 matches. So no, he didn't flop. The problem was that Juventus overreached. They indulged in a luxury Serie A simply couldn't afford, especially a league that hadn't attracted global superstars since the 90s. Signing Cristiano Ronaldo marked the end of Juve's dynasty. The club miscalculated the potential benefits of having a football legend and ended up sinking both on the pitch and financially. Gareth Bale was the first footballer to break the 100 million euros barrier. When Florentino Perez paid 101 million to Tottenham Hotspur in 2013, Bale became a legend at Real Madrid, winning 5 Champions League. And that's summary that is both unquestionable and misleading, because the Welshman was always a polarizing figure, and during his final 3 seasons, he did little more than fade away at the Santiago Bernabeu. Bale's time in Madrid has 2 sides: the iconic bicycle kick against Liverpool in the Champions League final, and the infamous Wales, golf, Real Madrid, in that order. He arrived from the Premier League at age 24 and left at 33, just like Cristiano, except Cristiano was sold for more than he originally cost, while Bale, at the same age, was completely washed and left for free to MLS. Everyone knows Neymar is the most expensive footballer of all time, but in reality, no one has cost more than Kylian Mbappé. The 19-year-old Monaco forward arrived in Neymar's shadow, but his fee was an astronomical 180 million euros. And that's not even the worst part. When Neymar left for Saudi Arabia, PSG at least recouped 90 million euros. 222 minus 90 equals 132 million in net cost. Mbappé, on the other hand, left for free to Real Madrid. so his net cost was the full 180 million. And we're not even talking about the maintenance cost over 7 seasons. 7 seasons in which Mbappe became the best player in Ligue 1 history. 6 Golden Boots and 5 MVP awards. Mbappe's time at PSG is undoubtedly a success story. A very expensive success story. And one that, of course, didn't include the Champions League title, which, ironically, PSG finally won the year after he left. If you liked this video, hit that like button, share it and comment below. Which of these players was a total ripoff and which one was actually worth the investment? See you next time.